I mean, it's so tragic when a police officer, when anyone loses their life, but a law enforcement officer serving the community and dying in the line of duty is so tragic. It's every law enforcement family's worst nightmare, every time they put on the badge and leave the house. And I thought another really beautiful moment was when they took a moment of silence and handed a medallion to the family. And what the sheriff said was, this is so that you'll never be alone, and that, you've lost Jonathan, but you have gained this immense family, and we have your back, we have your six, and this is a reminder of that. That was beautiful.
And now you can see people outside waiting around. This is a very large undertaking when we lose a member of law enforcement. This is not your typical funeral procession. There are people from all over the country who come to pay their respects, and all over the community too. We are expecting to see people in Cobb County and from beyond, citizens paying their respects to our fallen deputy here. And because of that, they will be lining the streets. You can expect some traffic if people are going to head out into the area, because this will be such an outpouring of support. There is so much planning that has to go into a moment like this. You are shutting down roads. You are letting people know. You are coordinating with fellow law enforcement. And it's just amazing what they can pull together. And they have to, because this is what the deputy deserves.
Yeah.
He lost his life serving his community. And so they want to make sure that this is done properly.
Yeah, it's got to be a surreal experience for that family driving through this procession right now. You see this live image right now where the fire trucks have put up the American flag over where they're going to drive through in that procession to the Georgia National Cemetery. And his sister wrote on Facebook that, look, we hear these stories all the time in the news. You never expect it will be you. And I think they're just dealing with how surreal this must feel. But imagine the support that they must feel enveloped in, too. I mean, not only friends and families, multiple departments, as we saw. I mean, they said, will all the law enforcement in the room stand up? It was hundreds of people.
Oh, yeah, it was almost the entire room.
And beyond that, they're about to go along this procession and see hundreds, if not thousands, of people just in the community as well, just there along the route, taking time out of their day to pay their respects.
Right. And worth noting, too, Governor Brian Kemp was in attendance at the service today. He has ordered flags to fly at half staff for today and tomorrow. That's when we will also see services for Deputy Marshal Samuel Irvin Jr. So this is the first of these services to be seen, giving us a preview of what we can also expect for Deputy Irvin as well, Deputy Marshal Irvin. So now you can kind of see, again, you were mentioning the fire trucks there off on the left of your screen, see some traffic there. So we do expect somewhat shortly to see the procession start with the hearse leaving the church and heading toward the cemetery for deputy's burial. Yeah,
I know they're going to be closing off all those roads too, so they're going to make sure that kind of traffic is being rerouted and everything. So they're preparing for that now. We saw Deputy Koleski's wife, who was again wearing the blue in honor of the thin blue line. She watched as his casket was loaded into the hearse and then got into a limousine with her family, and they are going to follow that hearse through this procession. You just wonder what they must be thinking when they're going to drive through this, and just they're going to be watching. They're going to be watching those faces and the support.
And this is something that Cobb County, that the Sheriff's Office has not seen in 3 decades. It has been over 30 years since they have lost a member of law enforcement in the line of duty. And so this is something that is not very familiar. I can't imagine many, if any, of the people on the force today were on the force when the last officer lost his life in the line of duty. So an unfamiliar territory, but again, one that they want to do service and justice to.
Yeah, and about 1,000 law enforcement vehicles will accompany Deputy Koleski to the Georgia National Cemetery. You're seeing the map right there, and we're hearing that the hearse right now is leaving. So we're going to take that shot up, and you can see they are following some police vehicles right there, the procession beginning right now. And they're going to travel south along Cobb Parkway, past the Cobb County Airport, onto Chastain Road. Cobb fire trucks, which you just saw some of, will be positioned at Chastain and Busby Parkway. And that's where the public is being encouraged to gather in honor of Deputy Koleski. The procession will continue onto I-575 north to the Georgia National Cemetery in Canton. And, of course, they're closing off all those roads, but should be a really beautiful procession that's getting kicked off right now.
And Savannah and I will be here throughout this, but we want to also take moments of silence to give people time to really take in the moment here and get the gravity of the situation of what this is. So we'll be guiding you through this, but also we'll be taking some time here and some moments of silence as Deputy Koleski's casket is brought to the Georgia National Cemetery here today. A very emotional day for the department, for his family, for an entire community.
Yeah, and as we've said, Deputy Koleski does leave behind a wife. He was a brother and a friend and a son and loved by so many people, which I think is so evident in the funeral service and how many people attended and spoke so highly of him. And right now they are proceeding on that route. It looks like the hearse is being led by a deputy vehicle and followed by his family.
Yeah, his family will be closely behind throughout this whole service. Also important to know, while we were invited into the funeral service and this was streamed, they wanted people to see this, the burial will be private. So we will follow the procession, and we have just streamed the funeral service as we said, but we also want to give a moment to the family as well, their privacy, as they say their final goodbyes to Deputy Koleski.
Yeah, and I do think they set up this whole streaming of the funeral, which was pretty incredible, and they have said they want to share this with the public. I think not only so that we may pay our respects to a great man, clearly, and someone who served our community, but also, as a reminder of what law enforcement officers put on the line every single day. And as you mentioned, it's been decades since this has happened in Cobb County. Certainly not the first time it's happened in the metro, tragically. I mean, you wear the badge, you walk out the door, and you don't know what's going to face you in that day. Not only do you not know, your family doesn't know. I mean, it's a really immense responsibility. See a man walking with a cross right there. And that also reminds me, there were some middle school and high schools in the area. They were doing honor runs in honor of Deputy Koleski and his partner, who was also killed in line of duty with him on September 8th. But a lot of these people never knew them, and they're just so impacted by the story, they're impacted by the service, they're impacted by the love that they're feeling through those who loved him.
We are going to see, no doubt about it, a number of images today that are striking, that are memorable, that are poignant about Deputy Koleski and about his service and about the community. Like you see that man holding that cross. There are going to be people, you said, I think it's most people there today, law enforcement included, probably never knew Deputy Koleski. And that's what these memorials are about, these services are about, is you may not have known him, and somebody said this in the service as well, you may not have known him and he may not have known you, but he served you. He kept you safe. He worked to make the community a better place. And that is why it is important for us to honor and remember him today.
Yeah, a lot of American flags too, as we mentioned. Deputy Koleski served 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, so not only a local law enforcement officer, not only a local hero, but also a national one who served our country. And something I think we will see, I've seen a couple of people bringing their children to the service, but we tend to see a lot of families come out, and you can only imagine that it's hard for children and young people to understand kind of what's going on here. But I've spoken to families in the past who say, I think it's important for my kids to see this and know the cost of what law enforcement officers, what police officers put on the line and risk every single day for you, for your safety, for our family, so that we may live our lives, safely and protected. It's really powerful.
It's a little difficult to see, but as the cars are driving, you can tell how many different departments are there just because of the change in the cars. You can't really read them, but I saw Gwinnett go by a little moment ago. I believe I saw Monroe. And this is just going to show you how many different departments and agencies are there today as this procession gets underway. You mentioned earlier, Savannah, about 1,000 cars involved in this procession, many of them law enforcement.